President Trump runs into resistance in the Rockies. Denver's promise to immigrant and refugee families.
We're going to do what we can as a city to make sure that you're okay.
The mayor tells next his words will be backed up with actions. Words and actions at the airport, where protesters learn you can't just go protest at the airport.
I cannot carry the Constitution without a permit.
Correct. Another watershed moment, shed 10 million gallons into Denver streets. Why did it take 6 hours to turn off the water? A Next viewer speaks for every moviegoer who's ever wanted to reach over and extinguish the light from a cell phone or a joint.
And leave your pot at home.
And some of us are mispronouncing a well-known place name in our state. We're clearing the air in all sorts of ways. Next. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock is directly taking on President Trump in the strongest terms. In an interview with Next, the mayor made a sweeping case that the president's policies threaten Denver's economic position in the world and present a moral challenge to every American.
All the work that we've been doing all over this world is now being threatened because of the lack of thoughtfulness coming from this administration. We are a much better nation than what we are showing right now. Our economic security is being threatened by the actions of this president. We saw it when blacks were being targeted. We saw it when Jews and Catholics were being targeted. And it took individuals to step up and demonstrate the moral courage and to say, that's not the nation we want to be. We're being called today to do the same thing.
You said last week that if Denver's values and Denver's actions make this city a sanctuary city, then you welcome the label. The label's become a hot topic. Are you worried at all that you're daring the administration to come after the city?
No, we're not in violation of the executive order. We feel very comfortable with that. These labels that fly around, sanctuary city, whatever that is, as mayors, we have never been able to figure out what that is across the nation. We've never heard a definitive definition, and that's what I was responding to. So at the end of the day, if that's the label we fall into because we are working to provide a safe, secure, inclusive city for all of our residents, then we'll accept the label.
Mayor Hancock says the city attorney is currently putting together a group to offer legal advice to immigrant and refugee families. He stopped short of saying that he would fight the Trump administration if it enacts the deportations promised during the campaign. Fighting that action could get Denver formally labeled a sanctuary city. You can see my full interview with the mayor on the Next YouTube page, which is also where we post full episodes of the show. Congressman Jared Polis, a Democrat from Boulder, joined a candlelight protest on the steps of the Supreme Court tonight in opposition to the president's refugee ban. And a few minutes later, he stepped inside to talk to Next. President Trump won the election. People voted for him wanting immigration reform. Are Democrats, including yourself, really willing to work with him on something that perhaps is not what you would have ultimately wanted, but is a step back from what we are currently seeing?
I would love to see immigration reform. And yes, it takes the president to sign a law. These steps that he's taken on his own without consulting Congress move in the opposite direction. We need bridges, not walls, with our neighbors. It just made no sense and really gets in the way of us working together to actually fix our broken immigration system.
Congressman Polis tells me that he's hearing privately from Republican colleagues that this is not what they expected from a President Trump, which I find personally puzzling because this is exactly what candidate Trump promised voters. So you've likely seen video of the anti-Trump protests at airports across the country last weekend, including at DIA. There's one video making the round showing Denver Police Commander Tony Lopez telling protesters to put away their political signs and their constitutions. Our Ryan Harrer found this to be a simplicated and complicated free speech question.
Put all the signs away that have anything to do with First Amendment expression, political message.
That is Commander Tony Lopez telling protesters to stop holding up signs protesting the president's temporary ban on immigrants from certain Muslim countries.
Legal advice that we're getting at this time from the city attorney. What's being displayed is in violation of airport rules and regulations.
The airport lays out the rules and regulations clearly online. If you want to protest at DIA, you have to submit an application 7 days in advance. That wasn't the case on Saturday. Heath Montgomery is a spokesperson with DIA.
We have to ensure that people who use this airport are safe and able to go about their business uninterrupted, and that's going to remain our focus.
Darren O'Connor captured the video so many are talking about today.
I cannot carry the Constitution without a permit?
Correct.
Seriously,
airport rules.
That's the America we're in now.
These people were far from a violent or threat posing a threat of violence to anyone.
But beyond safety, airport officials say they have to ensure airport operations aren't affected. And our legal expert says this is likely not a violation of free speech laws. The Supreme Court has ruled before that airports are not traditional public forums, giving airport officials the ability to impose reasonable restrictions.
This is not City Hall. This is a place where people from around the world are moving.
Montgomery stressed that what's not seen in the video is Commander Lopez working with everyone to find a compromise.
We do respect people's rights to express themselves, and I think we demonstrated that over the weekend.
Eventually, DIA and DPD allowed the protesters to move to another part of the airport, something even O'Connor says he appreciates.
I was happy that the people stood so firm in their right to speak publicly, and that in the end the police recognized that.
For Next, I'm Ryan Harris.
And the airport reinforced the obvious on Facebook tonight that carrying the Constitution there is allowed. The whole thing made me think, I bet there are more handmade signs at DIA than anywhere else in the city on most days. Which is why Next has prepared this helpful instructional guide on how to make a legal sign to bring to the airport.
Denver welcomes all. Nope, clearly political. There, we fixed it. Now you have a colorful sign welcoming your friend Allie to the Mile High City. Refugees are welcome here. Yeah, but that sign isn't. Let's make it DIA approved. If Wyclef and Lauryn Hill want to get the band back together, the Fugees are welcome here. This last sign's a tough one. Who's next? That's probably political. You're better off censoring it into a sign of support for your favorite local news program. You know, the one committed to helping you create an airport-approved sign.
There's a plot of land up in Wyoming that will become the final resting place of heroes. 5 acres outside Cheyenne that will become Wyoming's first national cemetery for vets. The hope is to give people who live in Wyoming and rural northern Colorado a place closer to home to bury their own.
Our next question comes from Steve Reeves regarding the downtown water main break. Why did it take Denver Water so long to turn off the water? Steve, I specialize in beer, not so much in water, so let's bring in an expert in that. His name is Travis Thompson.
On Saturday, it took about 6 hours to get it shut off. Every break's unique, and you really don't know what you're going to get when you're talking about a pipe that's 130 years old. Our crews ended up needing to back up and turn off 30 valves to get this main break shut off and isolated for our repair crews to actually get in here and do the work. You also think a 24-inch pipe, that's a lot of water to hold back for these valves. So sometimes you got to back up multiple valves to make sure you get a really clean shut off. It's not like flicking a switch and the water shuts off and you can go in and fix it. We actually got to get out here, find those valves, get them shut down. Denver Water has crews that work 24/7, 365, and ready to get out there as quickly as possible. We're fortunate that water rates that come into us from the community, what we're doing is we're reinvesting that in the system and doing proactive maintenance on this system. So every year we spend about $11 million to replace pipes throughout our system. We probably lost upwards of more than 10 million gallons of water.
10 million gallons that sadly could have found a useful future, as say beer. I find it easier to picture the 10 million gallons as 640,000 kegs, side by side, 160 miles into the distance. Keg stands just waiting to happen, from the state capitol down to Glenwood Springs. Poor RTD, that agency's in need of some good news, and they have something to celebrate. The R line is going to open on February 24th. It was supposed to open late last year, but it was delayed by a problem with the circuit board. The R line has 8 new stations, mostly along 225, and then it connects up to the A line at Peoria Station. And Google Maps is so excited for the R line to open, it's telling people already that they can take a trip on the R. You can't. Alan Liu tweeted at Next and RTD pointing out this issue. Very helpful, Alan. We appreciate that. And RTD says it'll try to get Google Maps to fix that problem. RTD said, please exclude Route R when planning your trip until February 24th. While we're talking RTD, let's ask our favorite question. Is the A-line working today? The struggle train? No. Another down day for the train to the plane. It was those pesky signal and switching issues again that caused 20 to 30-minute delays this morning. RTD again busted out the buses, which do not struggle, and took passengers from 61st and Pena out to DIA. Happy to tell you the switches, though, are working again tonight.
You thought it was annoying when people's cell phones would light up a theater. Now they're sparking joints. A Next viewer lays the smackdown in defense of theater etiquette. A beautiful spot in our state, no matter how you pronounce its name. And this, whatever this is definitely the most Colorado thing we've seen today.
It's a sign. One seen recently in Taylor Park, about 45 minutes from Crested Butte. It reads, "Pavement ends," and you really do have to take the sign's word for it this time of year with all the snow that they've seen up there in Crested Butte. Sheldon Folk took this picture while he was out snowmobiling. You can send us any sign that makes you look twice. Get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext or email next@9news.com. The most Colorado thing we saw today comes to us from a viewer in Brighton. Robin Britz was out photographing eagles and hawks near Bear Lake when she ran across goats and coats. She didn't know the backstory. She just knew this would be a great photo. The goats were unconcerned about the publicity. In fact, it kind of looks like they're posing for the camera.
Meteorologist Kathy Sabin here. And what month is it anyway? Mid-60s today. It's January, and the last few days of the month, well, kind of going to go out rather quietly. We'll have one more day with above average highs, not in record territory, but plenty warm. High pressure bringing all of that high cloudiness into the area on the northwest flow, circulating around that low in the Midwest. That's where all the travel troubles are. Front associated with that's going to back into northeastern Colorado, but not until we enjoy one more mild, dry day. Now, tomorrow there will be more wind than we dealt with today, but I think dry conditions basically statewide. 20% chance that we'll see a few flurries, a little bit of fog or drizzle Wednesday night into Thursday morning, but other than that, it looks pretty quiet. 32 with high clouds tonight, cool and dry. That's where we start you off tomorrow morning. Temperatures warm quick, mid-50s by lunchtime, mid-60s by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the cool down. Mid-40s, not atypical for this time of year, and not a lot of moisture to show you there, and we warm right back into the low 50s for Friday and for Saturday. So really a nice looking extended period, and the first few days of February look much the same.
Kathy, thanks. So you get to a movie you've really been wanting to see, buy a ticket, some popcorn, you find your seat in the theater, and then you realize you are surrounded by animals. We have all been there. Next viewer, Brian emailed us about a recent experience at a movie theater. Brian has some things to say.
I know there are a lot bigger issues these days, but have you noticed how common decency has become a rarity in movie theaters these days? People talking in normal voices, pulling out their cell phones during the movie, everything. My wife and I had an experience seeing Arrival a few weeks ago, where people in each of the 3 rows directly in front of us pulled out their phones during the film, and to top it all off, the people directly in front of us decided to light up a joint an hour into the film. That one actually prompted us to get a manager. It feels like, you know, all right, I paid $20, almost $25 for my wife and I to go see this movie, and to have somebody ruin it by talking or pulling their phone out or taking calls, it's so bad. It's like they just don't care these days. People are so used to being at home and watching Netflix, getting a text and immediately responding to it. That's become so prevalent in our lives that we just translate it right into the movie theater. Maybe a hard-hitting expose about how the general public can't tell the difference between watching at home versus watching among a group of people who also want to see the film. Maybe that comes from an upbringing where it's like, oh no, you don't want to disturb anybody else in the theater. They're here to see the movie. Just keep your phone in your pocket. If it goes off, leave the theater and go check it out in the hallway, and leave your pot at home.
I can hear the clapping through the screen. Next, you know, is a place where you can share your deeply held views, whether it's on something as serious as refugee policy or as light as lighting joints while trying to watch a movie. Drop us a note next at 9news.com.
Next quest to solve Colorado's puzzling pronunciations goes south to southwest Colorado. And your Monday was better than our friend Aaron Matus's Monday. I guarantee you that. Next. Question comes from Tim Butler. Hi, next. You settled Buena Vista. How about Ouray? All right, let's decide the pronunciation once and for all. Ouray? Ouray? Ouray?
All right, we called the visitor center. We got Mary. She's 80, so she knows a lot of stuff. She's been a volunteer at the visitor center for 17 years, so she knows a lot of stuff about that part of Colorado. And she answered our question before we even had to ask.
Good morning, Ouray Visitor Center. This is Mary. It is Ouray. Hooray for Ouray, the way I tell people when they come in. Ouray is named after the chief of the Ute Indians. he was very, very important in Indian affairs in southwest Colorado. So happy to be representing this town. It was just kind of when I first saw it from a corner up here, I knew I had to get here.
You can just tell she makes people's days better when they call and they get to talk to Mary on the phone. We will continue to solve these debates over how to pronounce this and that around Denver and across Colorado. So help us help you prove your husband or wife wrong on one of these. Email next@9news.com or give us a shout, #HeyNext. So if you applied to be the beer scholar at the Smithsonian after seeing our story here, sorry to break it to you, didn't get the job. But someone did, very smart someone. Teresa McCullough is a social and cultural historian of food. She's finishing up a doctorate from Harvard in American Studies. Already holds a culinary arts diploma from the Cambridge School of Culinary Arts Professional Chefs program. So now she is the Smithsonian's brewing historian, responsible for curating an oral history of brewing in the U.S. with home brewing and craft brewing first and foremost. The Post is funded by the Brewers Association right in our backyard in Boulder. And ultimately, her work will be shown off at 2 public events, one at the Smithsonian during Food History Weekend in October and at the Craft Brewers Conference in Washington in April. We will, of course, keep you abreast of this important research. May I make a recommendation where we point you towards anything that doesn't come from us but is definitely worth your time? If you have old books sitting around, you could donate them. The Boulder Public Library is looking for books for children and young adults, not for the Boulder Library, but for one in Dushanbe, Tajikistan. It's one of Boulder's 8 sister cities. There's a book collection drive running through Sunday at the Boulder Tea House. All those books will be shipped to Tajikistan via military cargo plane with some help from the troops at Fort Carson. And some of the books will be part of the library at a friendship center in Dushanbe. Others will be sent to the American Corner, an organization operated by the embassy there, the U.S. Embassy, that teaches English language literacy. A frazzled dad might make you think differently about your Monday. Plus, your feedback. Next. How was your Monday? Yeah, mine too. At least we're not 9 News sports guy Aaron Matus or his poor kids. He was home alone today with all 3 of his kids for the first time. Posted these pictures on his Facebook page with the caption, "I'd say one day solo with all 3 kids has been a smashing success so far. We're thinking about you, Aaron, and your sanity, and your 3 kids, and their sanity, and your beautiful wife, and her sanity once she sees that you posted these photos of the kids. And then we're back to thinking about you, buddy." We are getting some feedback now. We get quite a bit of it, actually, but here was an honest review we simply couldn't pass up. We introduced you to an 85-year-old sculptor last week who took up his new hobby recently, just to challenge himself. Stuart McDonald's a funny guy, and he's a straight shooter. And here's his feedback on the program.
Your favorite thing about the new show, The Next program with Kyle?
It's refreshing. It's just fun after watching the talking heads all day to come upon Kyle Clark and a new take on the news, the things that interest people in Colorado. Love to say the most Colorado thing I've seen today. Yeah. The little guy with the snorkel tube on his ski helmet. That was marvelous. Loved your piece on the gemstone sculpture. That was marvelous. But well, it's really the only news program that we make a point to
sit down and
watch.
I like Papa McDonald's sweater there. I'd wear that in a jacket. Some dissenting viewpoints now. This one was left on our YouTube channel where you can catch full episodes anytime. I find your show has a lack of intellectual depth. I am no longer a viewer. I will make sure everyone I know will not watch your show. I am sure your ratings are low. That sounds like a lot of work to do to kill a show that you seem to think is dying on its own. So we'll be good. We'll see you next time.